I'm about to tell you 3 unbelievable true stories. Our first story begins in Croatia with a man named Frane Selak, a music teacher whose life reads like a script straight out of a Hollywood disaster film. Born in 1929, Frane lived an extraordinary life, except for the part where he cheated death more times than anyone can reasonably explain. His brushes with death began, according to him, in 1962. He was travelling by train from Sarajevo to Dubrovnik when disaster struck. The train derailed, plunged into an icy river and killed 17 people. Frane managed to escape with only a broken arm and hypothermia, the first of many unbelievable survivals. A year later, in 1963, he boarded a plane from Zagreb to Rijeka. Mid-flight, one of the doors blew open and Frane was literally sucked out of the aircraft. The plane crashed, killing 19 people, but somehow Frane survived, landing in a haystack. You'd think he'd never fly again after that, and you'd be right. He swore off planes forever. But that didn't mean danger was done with him. In 1966, while riding a bus, the vehicle skidded off the road and into a river. 4 passengers drowned. Frane? He swam to shore. Then, in 1970, his car caught fire due to a faulty fuel pump. He managed to escape moments before the car exploded. 2 years later, in 1972, another car of his burst into flames while driving. Flames literally shot through the air vents, singeing his hair. But he jumped out and rolled away just in time. By now, Frane had been in more accidents than most people could imagine. But in 1995, he was struck by a bus and survived again. The following year, in 1996, while driving on a mountain road, a United Nations truck came barreling towards him. He swerved, crashed through a guardrail, and his car plunged into a 300-foot gorge. Miraculously, he was thrown clear, landed in a tree, and watched as his car exploded below. 7 near-death experiences, 7 escapes. And then, as if the universe decided he'd earned a break, something extraordinary happened. In 2003, Frane won the Croatian lottery, £600,000, which is roughly $1 million or about 700,000 euros at the time. After decades of disaster, the man known as the world's unluckiest lucky man became rich overnight. He bought a house, a car, and even got remarried. However, Frane wasn't one to chase luxury. Years later, he reportedly gave most of his winnings away to family and friends, saying, "Money can't buy happiness." His story became famous around the world. Newspapers called him the luckiest man alive. Others called him cursed. Frane didn't seem to care. He said God had a purpose for him. He lived through things that defied reason, and now he just wanted peace. He often joked that his life was proof that miracles can happen, but not everyone wants to live through them. Many parts of his story are true. He was a real man and he did win the lottery. But some of the earlier events, like the 1962 train crash or the 1963 plane explosion, cannot be verified by official records or news reports. They're largely based on Selak's own telling. Whether every event happened exactly as he described, no one knows. But one thing's certain. Winning $1 million or 700,000 euros in the Croatian lottery, that's impressive enough. Story 2. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the man who survived 2 atomic bombs. Our next story is almost impossible to believe, yet every part of it is true. This is the story of Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the only officially recognized person to survive both atomic bombings in Japan. The year was 1945. World War II was drawing to a brutal close. Yamaguchi was a 29-year-old engineer working for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. On August 6th, he was in Hiroshima for a business trip when the first atomic bomb was dropped. At 8:15 a.m., a blinding white flash tore through the sky. In an instant, Hiroshima was engulfed in fire and chaos. Yamaguchi was less than 2 miles from the blast center. The explosion ruptured his eardrums, temporarily blinding him, and left severe burns across the right side of his body. Somehow, he survived. Disoriented and injured, he spent the night in a shelter. The next morning, he boarded a train back to his hometown, Nagasaki. He arrived home on August the 7th, determined to warn everyone about what he'd seen. One bomb destroyed an entire city, he told his colleagues. It's like the sun fell from the sky. But few believed him. How could one bomb cause such destruction? Then came August 9th. 3 days after the Hiroshima attack, Yamaguchi was back at work in Nagasaki, reporting his experience to his supervisors when another blinding flash filled the sky. The second atomic bomb had just detonated, and Tsutomu Yamaguchi was once again within the range of the blast. The explosion flattened buildings, ignited fires, and unleashed a level of devastation few humans have ever witnessed. Yamaguchi was thrown to the ground. The office walls collapsed around him, and yet again, somehow, he lived. He crawled out of the rubble, covered in dust and burns, and made his way home through the apocalyptic ruins. His wife and baby son had been out buying burn ointment for his Hiroshima wounds, and they too survived, shielded by the concrete walls of a tunnel they'd taken refuge in. The sheer improbability of it all is staggering. 2 atomic bombs, 2 cities, 3 days apart, one man who lived through both. In the years that followed, Tsutomu Yamaguchi struggled with radiation sickness and long-term health effects. He lost his hair, suffered chronic pain, and battled infections. But he also became a quiet symbol of peace. He spent much of his later life speaking out against nuclear weapons, telling his story to ensure the world would never forget the horrors of atomic warfare. When he was interviewed later in life, he said, "I could have died twice, but I didn't. I have to use that life for something good." In 2009, the Japanese government officially recognized him as the only person to have survived both bombings. He lived to the age of 93, passing away in 2010. His story is living proof of human endurance and the will to survive in the face of unimaginable destruction. It's the kind of story that sounds impossible, like something from a movie script, but every word is true. Tsutomu Yamaguchi really did endure humanity's 2 most destructive moments and lived to tell the world about them. Our final story is shocking. Literally. It's about Roy C. Sullivan, a US park ranger from Virginia who holds a Guinness World Record for surviving something most people experience once in a lifetime, if at all. Roy was born in 1912 and worked at Shenandoah National Park for most of his career. It's a breathtaking place, rolling mountains, dense forests, open skies, and, as it turned out, the perfect place to meet lightning. Between 1942 and 1977, Roy claimed he was struck by lightning 7 times, and he lived to tell the tale. While some of those incidents are debated, there's solid evidence that he was hit at least once and likely multiple times. His first snow strike happened in 1942. He was hiding from a storm in a fire lookout tower when lightning hit the tower, travelled down the metal structure and jumped to him, burning a hole in his leg and knocking off his toenail. The second time came in 1969 when lightning struck a nearby tree and jumped to his truck, knocking him unconscious. The third hit in 1970 while he was in his garden. Lightning struck a transformer and rebounded, setting his shoulder on fire. By the fourth strike, Roy started to feel like nature had a personal grudge. In 1972, lightning struck him inside a ranger station, setting his hair ablaze. He began carrying a bucket of water wherever he went, just in case. In 1973, he was struck again while driving. The bolt entered through the car's open window, knocking him out and burned his eyebrows off. In 1976, while walking in the park, another strike hit him, injuring his ankle. And in 1977, his seventh and final strike burned his chest and stomach while he was fishing. 7 strikes, yet somehow he kept going back to work. The media called him the human lightning rod, but Roy didn't see it as fame. He said he felt cursed. He began to worry storms were following him. Some people refused to stand next to him during bad weather. Despite it all, he loved his job, and he spent 36 years protecting the park and helping visitors. Roy eventually retired, holding a Guinness World Record for most lightning strikes survived. To this day, no one has broken it. While skeptics note that not all of the 7 strikes were witnessed, park records and medical reports confirm that he was indeed struck by lightning at least once, and likely several times. The scars, the burns, and his colleagues' testimonies make it hard to doubt that much. In fact, his extraordinary survival record earned him official recognition by Guinness World Records as the only man in history confirmed to have been struck by lightning 7 separate times and lived to tell about it. Guinness described Roy C. Sullivan as a statistical anomaly, a man who defied the odds of nature itself. To put it into perspective, the chances of being struck by lightning once in your lifetime are roughly 1 in 15,000. The odds of it happening 7 times are so astronomical they're almost impossible to calculate. Frane Selak, Tsutomu Yamaguchi, and Roy Sullivan, 3 men whose lives defy explanation. A train crash survivor turned lottery winner, a man who lived through 2 atomic bombs, and a park ranger who became a lightning magnet. If you enjoyed these incredible true stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more unbelievable tales that really happened. Because as you've just seen, the world is full of stories that sound fake, but are 100% real.